edition of the Bolt Crew podcast. Dave Palais, Josh Palais, and Mario Heron. It's our first live post-game show that we've ever done right here. So, again, if you're with us, we're going to try and get to the comments as we go on. Want to get your opinion of what you saw in today's game. What do you feel about Jim Harbaugh starting off 1-0 as the Chargers head coach? At the same time, if you aren't catching the show live and you're watching on YouTube later, make sure you do what I'm going to ask everyone else to do. That's to give the big thumbs up, give the like, and subscribe. We're going to be here all season long. So if you're new to the show, don't forget, we're going live after every single Charger game, and then we're going to go on a regular basis, 1 o'clock Pacific time on Tuesday and Thursdays. And, of course, we want your input as well. So let's just get off to the good news. I mean, it's been a long time since we've had really good news, and this is good news for us and everything we've been through since basically the Jacksonville game when we lost that playoff game. It's been a long road. So here we are. The team starts off 1-0. And, hey, guys, we got a winning record right here. 22-10, the Chargers win. And, Josh, I'll ask you first. What's your impression as far as game one?
The first thing that I thought of, and I think all of us Charger fans feel the same way, is Brandon Staley would have blown that game. 100%. 100%. And I know you're not supposed to talk about your ex, right? You're just supposed to focus on the now, but I bet you two are thinking the same thing. If Brandon Staley was the coach of this team and it wasn't Jim Harbaugh, we would be 0-1. Do you guys feel the same way about that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, 1,000%. And we would have backed down. We would have gone away from the game plan like in the first freaking quarter. The defense would have fallen apart. They wouldn't have helped carry the offense all the way through. Staley would have blown this game in 1,000 different ways. And I think it's this new Harbaugh era where it's bend, don't break. And this team did not break because it was ugly in the first half. We went through puberty today, guys. In the first half, we had braces and acne. And then in the second half, we got the braces off. We hit a growth spurt. Now we're taking the hot girl to prom. That's what, hot guy, whatever your flavor is. That's what we did today, Dave.
All right, here's the deal. I will say, Josh, that's a good point. And Jim Harbaugh, for me, was kind of like the security blanket. Security blanket that you actually need it. Not one of those like it's nice to have. You actually need it. When you were worried about your coach blowing it, I'm telling you right now, just like I said months ago, when we talk about the Raiders and all the hype with Antonio Pierce and going 5-4 since he took over as coach, Antonio Pierce has no track record. That was all basically momentum because it was a change from basically being stuck with the guy that was dead man walking. And so Antonio Pierce comes in. He's one of us, all this stuff. It's no different than the guy that wears the number 57 Raiders jersey with the face painted and the shoulder pads with the spikes out. He's a prop. Antonio Pierce isn't a football coach. I'm sorry, and I'm not going to give him any credit at all. He literally tore Arizona State's football program to the ground. Herm Edwards will tell you the same thing. Anyone that was there would say all the problems they had at Arizona State was because of Antonio Pierce. I got news for you, Raider fans, and we had a bunch of them on Thursday that joined the show. Your coach is a bitch. All right, I'll tell you right now. You're an LA guy. Guess what? I'm an LA guy too. And I know where he was raised. And I guarantee his friends that were in the crowd and watched him on TV and watched him in person could not believe he decided to punt when the ball was on the other side of the 50-yard line when the Raiders needed to score. Dude, I'm sorry, but Antonio Pierce should be wearing a summer dress the next time the Raiders have a game. Okay, it's going to be warm in Baltimore, Antonio. You're going to like it. Look, you showed you are not a Raider. If anyone will tell you that Raider fans say we're supposed to be tough, I'd walk at it with my head down. As a Charger fan, I got my chest out, got my head up, and I'm going, we beat you. That's our biggest rival, and you could say whatever you want about the history of the Raiders. You have not done anything since the 1983 season, and you're going to sit there and walk into SoFi Stadium like that. Antonio Pierce, you should know better. You should be embarrassed. The fan base is embarrassed. I'm glad we have the guy we have. We have the security blanket, Jim Harbaugh. You heard him say it at the end of the game. Jim Nantz, guess what? Jim Harbaugh always wins an opener. That's nothing new. He's been doing that forever. That's what he does. That team is only going to get better. And, yeah, Mario, you were writing to us during the game saying, hey, it's boring football right now. We expected a boring season. We just want to win the scoreboard, and that's exactly what the Chargers did today.
We asked the question in the offseason, would you want a boring team that wins or would you want a flashy team that loses? Chargers have had many flashing teams in the past years that haven't won anything. I'll take a boring team that wins. First half was boring. Second half was not boring. I thought the second half was actually very entertaining. Justin Herbert didn't have much time to throw. He's making the most out of nothing. We'll get into that. But Antonio Pierce, very confusing. I agree with you. They had short yardage situations. He punts. He doesn't go for it. Sets the wrong tone for the Raiders. I thought Brandon Staley did that multiple times with the Chargers last season, where it shows your team that you're scared. Chargers took full advantage of it. Dude, and can we call out how Dave was right? Joey Bosa, probably the defensive player of the game. Khalil Mack was great. Poona Ford was great. But Joey Bosa had a come to Jesus moment. I mean, the guy was the Joey Bosa that we've always expected.
I can't say like better things about Bosa. I think one of the biggest plays of the game, it was early in the game. I believe it was the second quarter, I want to say, when Minshew steps up in the pocket. It's like 3rd and 3. And it looks like he's going to be able to run clearly for the first down, like probably run about like 10 yards. And Bosa does a dive and trips him up, barely even makes it back to the line of scrimmage. That was such a huge play for just momentum in that game with the Chargers. He forced a fumble that was huge that led to 3 points on the board for the Bolts. Like, he was everywhere and anywhere for the Chargers today. That's the best game I've seen him play in about 3 years, I can honestly say. Like, I was really impressed by Bosa, and I hope we see that all year long. Mac showed up too. That whole D-line showed up. Jesse Minter put his nuts on the table and told the Raiders to kiss him. I mean, he did an amazing job, called an amazing game today. And before I toss it to you, Dave, I think the Antonio Pierce not going for it on 4th down, and you mentioned like what Staley would kind of do with the inaccuracies of going for it. I think that's a sign of an inexperienced head coach that doesn't know when to go and when to stop. And that was just a sign of it. And we have an experienced coach in the NFL for the first time in like ever. So I think that was just a difference in today is one guy has the experience, knows what it takes, and the other guy is still learning. I think Antonio Pierce is going to be a really good coach. I just think he's still learning a lot. The other thing I want to talk about, Dave, Devontae Adams. I would maybe take the social media post and put a little bit bigger on your locker because clearly that motivation did not work for you today, my man.
Okay, a couple things right there. Number one, with Antonio Pierce, when you say he could be a great coach, dude, he's not going to have time. I mean, this is not a position where you learn on the job. You're an NFL coach. How many assistants does he have that used to be head coaches? By the way, Marvin Lewis didn't do anything when he was a head coach. When he was assistant coach, he was fine. But he didn't do anything. He surrounded himself with a bunch of guys that didn't get there. I mean, the idea that a guy like Bill Belichick, and maybe, you don't want to get close to the Patriots thing because of what happened last time, but the idea that maybe the greatest coach of all time is telling you he wants to coach and he's not coaching right now is crazy to me. The Titans 100% missed Mike Vrabel today. I mean, there are coaches out there that the Raiders could have gone and chased down. They have nobody to blame but themselves. The Raiders do dumb things. The Chargers have finally done something smart, and that's bring in Jim Harbaugh. You could go talent for talent as far as what the Raiders have and what the Chargers have. We know we have the better quarterback. We definitely have the better head coach. But, man, the Raiders do have some guys out there. And when you call out Devontae Adams, I'm a Devontae Adams apologist. This guy, unfortunately, is surrounded by guys who can't make him look even halfway decent. I mean, there are times Devontae Adams is wide open. They can't get him the ball. They don't think to get him the ball. I mean, we spoke about it on Thursday saying, hey, you want to keep this guy happy, get him the ball. It's not like he's a scrub that's past his prime. Devontae Adams is still very good. You stick him with a quarterback that's even halfway decent. Minshew didn't kill the Raiders today. The Raiders killed themselves. It was one of those where I think, honestly, the Chargers played well enough to win. And Josh, you said something earlier, and I know we've talked about it before about, hey, we might be boring, but we win that side of the scoreboard. Guess what, man? There are a bunch of teams that have won Super Bowls that weren't exactly the most exciting teams. And for guys like me, and I know we have them that listen and follow this show, that have followed Charger football since, the Dan Fouts, Kellen Winslow, Charlie Joyner, Wes Chandler, John Jefferson era, where they put up a ton of points and it was crazy exciting. Dude, those teams couldn't win. They couldn't get to the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. You don't get points for excitement. And Mari, I see you shaking your head. I know the three of us right now are all nodding our heads saying, thank goodness that Jim Harbaugh is here, because it should only get better. And Joey Bosa's performance, as people are see on the chat saying, I'm ready to hear Dave basically eat crow. I'm not going to eat crow, because if you listen to the show on Thursday, he was my pick to click. So Joey Bosa, you knew was going to come if he was going to stay with the Chargers, which he decided to work things out. And Jim Harbaugh and him must have had that conversation. He was going to give his best. And guess what? He finally played up to his contract today. Now we want to see him be consistent and be an all-pro. That's what we want to see.
It's the combination we've been waiting for between Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. If we can get that kind of performance out of both guys, we're a playoff team without a doubt. J.K. Dobbins, that's the thing. That's what we've been talking about all offseason. If J.K. Dobbins can be the J.K. Dobbins of old, which is asking a lot because he's been hurt so much in his career, we're going to be a very good team. I think a lot of credit needs to be given to Joe Ortiz, who brought in J.K. Dobbins, who brought in Gus Edwards, who brought in Poona Ford, who restructured Khalil Mack's contract, who restructured Joey Bosa's contract. Christian Fulton was good. A lot of the guys that they brought in, it's part of that new culture. Is Ladd McConkey wide receiver one? I'm going to make a statement right now. He is. Ladd McConkey, I believe, is the best receiver on this team. We see Quentin Johnston drop that pass on the sidelines. He gets ripped by Tony Romo. If you remember last season, Tony Romo ripped Quentin Johnston for not knowing the playbook. He is not a fan of Quentin Johnston. I'm not a fan of Quentin Johnston right now. Now, you guys probably feel the same way. But we need to give credit to the new guys that have come in with this new Harbaugh, Ortiz era. It's just different, Mario. Like the vibe around this team, the way the team plays. The first half kind of felt like last season, I'd say. The second half felt like a new Chargers team.
A completely new team, a new unit. I want to touch on Quentin Johnston later because I have a lot to say, and it's going to make me really, really angry. I don't want to stay positive right now. The Ladd McConkey, welcome to the league, Rook. The move of him catching on the cross route and the 2 juke out twice to get into the end zone. 1, that was a touchdown that just put the nail in the coffin. And 2, like just a huge play to make. And he had another great catch when we were kind of deep in Raiders territory, Dave, where he caught it and just got smoked right away. I mean, just lit up like a freaking Christmas tree. And he held on to the ball. I was like, all right, like that was just excellent play by him. I was really proud of that. He also had some great blocking downfield that I saw that when I want to rewatch, I want to like see if I can see it again. Like that also just impressed me a lot. And that's just a classic Georgia like receiver guy. Because if you don't block for Kirby Smart, get in the transfer portal and go to Ole Miss. Like that's where you're going, buddy. The other thing I really wanted to point out too is I really like the play of Asante Samuel Jr. Dave. I was really impressed by him. I thought that was a guy that really stood up. And I know we're talking about it ad nauseum, but I really do think there is a different energy to this team where you tell coming out of the locker room, they were ready to play and they were ready to win the game. And let's be honest, guys, that was a stadium that was 50-50. It wasn't a stadium that was coming out and, they're in the big house and they're, everyone's cheering for them. No, man, like they had a little adversity going in there because if they made one more big mistake, those Raider fans are going to get that much louder and it's going to be a lot harder. And they overcame a lot. And 1-0, baby. Let's freaking go.
Yeah, 1-0. I mean, here we go. Let's go is right. And, you see a lot of people say the first half wasn't exciting, wasn't very good. It wasn't. I mean, we aren't going to sit there and lie to you. We told you all the time. We're going to watch this the way hopefully you as fans watch these games. There was some reason to sit there and be a little bit nervous going, okay, was there enough time for this team to come together? Is this roster good enough to put wins together? This was a perfect start, for this team, right? You ramp up to the tougher opponents. We already said the schedule benefits the Chargers. Playing the Raiders week 1 was fantastic. Playing, guess what? The Panthers next week is going to be even better. That's the way it should go. But that's what you want. Anyone who says, hey, we want to face the Chiefs or the Ravens or one of these teams that look a little bit better than everyone else to start the season, you're out of your mind. We already know those teams are great. Those are playoff teams. We want to be one of those teams that's a playoff team. And so right now, hey, you take care of business. You're 1-0. You're supposed to win that game at home. Josh said it when the schedule came out. I mean, I'm tired of splitting with the Raiders. This is one that you have to win. And so they took care of business. Man, I'm very, very excited about the Chargers not only winning, Mario, but also at the same time being able to add on. So, I don't know about you. I know I've already talked to Josh about this, but the fact that they were leading 16-10, I think, at the time, and then they get that touchdown, to be able to add on is big. Ladd McConkey, great. I'll ask you guys this question here. When you're watching that game, at all are you thinking buyer's remorse, where you're saying, and I know I'm getting hammered for this, would you rather have Brock Bowers or would you rather have Joe Alt? Because imagine the weapons you have if you have Bowers and you have Ladd McConkey.
No. Okay. The good question. I think it's a fair question. I mean, people are going to get mad at you for asking that question, like you said. In the first half, I was thinking it would be nice to have Brock Bowers because nobody can get open. Josh Palmer did not have a good game. Quentin Johnston had an okay game. He dropped that pass on the sideline. He caught 3 of 5 targets. One of the passes was out of bounds. But I would like to have Brock Bowers. When the Raiders have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, you get a little bit jealous because you say, we have Will Disley, who can't stop committing freaking penalties. And then we have Hayden Hurst, who's just a guy. So it'd be nice to have Brock Bowers. But then you see the performance that Joe Alt has, where he shuts down Max Crosby, and he's very good in this first game. And you say, well, if we don't have anybody to block for Justin Herbert, then we really have nothing. So if we have Brock Bowers getting open, but we don't have time to throw him the ball, there's really no point.
I'm with you. If you would have asked me this in the first quarter when Disley had 3 penalties and about every penalty was on a tight end or in the tight end group, and we were 0 for 7 on third down. And I was just sitting there, and I was actually making dinner. And I was just like, this team sucks. This is going to be an awful year. Like, just absolutely just down in the dumps because I'm used to just the team not looking better in the second half. But on the flip side of this, I think the Joe Alt move is the sign of the identity of the team and the identity of the organization. And it's the right move. It's the step one to being a Super Bowl contender. It's a step in the right direction. Brock Bowers, they look good today. He's going to be a hell of a player. That being said,
he is a hell of a player. Like right now, I think, honest to God, I think Brock Bowers is a top 3 tight end in the NFL. His quarterback just isn't very good. Like, that's how good he is.
I will say this, and I'll toss to you, Dave. If the Raiders legitimately had a quarterback, like if they figured out that spot, they would be better than us. I like watch that today. I think so because their front's scary. Yeah, like they have everything I think you need. They do not have quarterback figured out, and that's gonna keep them back this whole season.
Yep,
it could for a long time. I mean, look, if you're a Raider fan, I got more bad news for you. There are 2 quarterbacks out there that you were chasing next offseason if you weren't going to go through the draft. And the talk is, the draft right now, because you aren't allowed to talk about guys that are currently signed by other teams. But the talk was Dak Prescott, who signed today, a mega deal to stay with Dallas. They want one of your options right off the table. And then Kirk Cousins was the other one that's supposed to be made available after the season as they're grooming Michael Penix. Guess what? The price for Kirk Cousins just went through the roof. If they plan on trading Kirk Cousins, the prices went through the roof because he's the only quarterback out there that's available that you might want. I mean, who knows? They might take old man Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. But, Mario, I don't disagree with you. And Charger fans aren't going to like that part either, But when you look at Devontae Adams and you look at Myers and you look at Bowers, I agree with Josh on this Bowers deal, man. He's as good as he was in college, and he'd be even better if he had a quarterback that could get him the ball on a consistent basis. But, man, he's really athletic. Whereas Michael Mayer, who we saw at Notre Dame, is kind of like a building moving. You know what I mean? He's a guy that can sit, catch the ball. He's as big as a house. And you're going, if we get him the ball, he's going to catch it. But, man, he's not elusive. He's not the Laportas. He's not the Kelseys. Brock Bowers is that guy. The only negative on Brock Bowers is look at those pictures of him now as a rookie, because in 4 years, he's going to be bald as an eagle.
Man, dude.
His hair big time. That poor kid. Anyway,
get an endorsement deal with Hims or something. Get on that, brother.
That's the only negative I can say about him, because he's impressive. So anyway, the Chargers. You said something a second ago that I was going to touch on Charger football, but overall, man, if I had to give a grade all the way through from different departments, man, it's high for everybody. Though, actually, you know what?
Really?
Josh, well, hold on. I'll tell you, there is a negative for me. It is a negative. I'm gonna let Josh say it because he said it to me the whole day. I don't want to steal his thunder. Who was the one guy who had a bad day, Josh?
You talking about Nance?
No, I'm besides Jim. Jim Nance.
I thought Jim Nance did not have a good day. But
all right, I'll say it because it's J.K. Scott. J.K. Scott had a terrible day.
Yeah.
J.K. Scott had a bad game. He legit had a bad game. He could not help us with field position whatsoever. And J.K. Scott's my guy. We went to college together. Very good person. He had a bad game. Like, I would tell J.K. that if he was right next to me. He's not as good as usual. I think Gus Edwards didn't have a great game either. I mean, not everybody played great. That's for sure.
But the running game did what
running game was fine.
J.K. Dobbins picked him up.
We've talked about this in the offseason. J.K. Dobbins has a much higher ceiling than Gus Edwards. I also think he has a lower floor because he's so injury prone. Gus Edwards is more of the steady guy. I could envision Gus Edwards having, 8 touchdowns because they're all near the goal line, right? More like a Mark Ingram situation, which is fine by me. And I really don't care if Gus Edwards has 80 rushing yards. Are we going to win or not? Justin Herbert had 144 passing yards. He's not my fantasy quarterback. Even if he was my fantasy quarterback, I wouldn't care because I want the Chargers to win. That's the most important thing to me. So I'm not looking at the stats and saying, I need this guy to have so many carries and so many yards. Did we win the game? Did we control the line of scrimmage? I'll tell you 2 guys, to me, that embarrassed themselves today, and they're not on the Chargers. I thought Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins were embarrassing. I thought their behavior was out of control. Christian Wilkins hit so many guys late after the whistle, and he's crying like a big bitch. Honestly, I thought Christian Wilkins looked terrible out there. Max Crosby had a sack at the beginning of the game, then he's completely neutralized by Joe Alt. I thought both those guys were embarrassing to the Raiders.
I am a big fan. Like, I love the chippiness, like just in a rivalry game. I love that. And I think with 2 teams that are attitude driven, like you're not going to have an AP team and a Harbaugh team not go out there and have a chip on their shoulder. Like, that's just going to happen. Those are the personality of the coaches, and it's going to be the personality of their team. I love it early on. But like you said, when it's later in the game and you're losing, it gets to a point where it's competitive and it just looks bad because then it just looks like you're out of control. And I think it got to that point with Max Crosby and Wilkins. I thought it was interesting what the Raiders were doing with Crosby too. Like, there was times when they would not even have Crosby near the line and have him actually come in a sprint, like on a blitz. And I saw that. I was like, I actually love that decision. I was interested. It didn't really work out for him that well. I mean, he got a couple of pressures out, but they get a sack. But I love that move. Like, that's just something creative. I think it's going to work for him, honestly, later on with other teams. I thought that was crappy of them, though. Like, really, you're going to, now going to choose to fight and stuff like that. That didn't make sense to me. It was a classic kind of Raider thing where, oh, go ahead, be sad, but try to be a tough guy. It's a classic line. If we're going to lose, let's at least think that we can beat their ass. That's that crazy move. Been there before. That you don't look good after it, and you just get crapped on more after the game. The other person that I just think had a really bad game for the Raiders, Zamir White, I thought had a terrible game for the Raiders, Dave. I didn't think he played well at all. I think the Chargers neutralized him a lot. But I just thought I heard a lot of hype about him all week in betting. He was like a guy that was picked to kind of go off. And boy, did he just really let the whole Las Vegas down.
Yeah, he ended up 13 carries, 44 yards on the day. Again, one of those where you decided you weren't going to keep Josh Jacobs, where 2 years ago he led the league in rushing. Again, that's what the Raiders do, right? They step in it. So, when you look at different things as far as the chippiness goes, I'm seeing a lot of comments on the screen that are saying they love seeing Quentin Johnston fight. And I'm dying for Mara to get into your whole Quentin Johnston rant. Look, Quentin Johnston's not a receiver or a fighter. I mean, that's what I saw. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I saw him get his butt knocked to the ground multiple times and then try and get up and say, we aren't done yet. No, you're done. If you didn't have your helmet on, you'd be hearing people say that boy leaking because he can't fight at all. He would have been bleeding from his head. I'm sorry. He's not a fighter. It's great that you sit there and you get excited and stuff. Man, there is something to be said for discipline in this league, because when it's important and the game might be a little bit closer and you get that 15-yard penalty, man, you better control yourself. That's we've seen it a bunch of times with bad teams. That's what bad teams do. That's not what good teams do. The Patriots don't do stuff like that when they're winning Super Bowls. Good teams don't do that. And for the Chargers, it's not one of those things I want to see any of these guys get into, or throw a punch when you have your helmet on and break a hand. All that's ridiculous to me. All of us, I'm sure, have either been in a fight in a football uniform or watched fights in football uniforms. Nobody ever gets hurt. Unless it's Myles Garrett ripping your helmet off and then hitting the head with it, nobody ever gets hurt. Right?
Yeah. I think there's a difference between standing up for your teammates and just being stupid. Like, if you punch a helmet and break your hand, then what does that do for your team? Like, you're hurting the team. So can you highlight this right here? There's some really good comments, but I think Ryan Culpepper's on the money. He says, sorry, Martin, putting you on the spot here.
Our tackles look great.
Yeah, our tackles look great, but the interior struggles to protect or make space. Couldn't agree more. I think Zion Johnson, Trey Pipkins could have had much better games. Bradley Bozeman, it's not the best game either, but Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are awesome. Like, we have Pro Bowl level tackles, which is very important. I would love for the guards to be a little bit better and get some push on the interior offensive line. They were blitzing, Mario, for most of the game, right? They were bringing the house the whole first half, and it was working. We couldn't move the ball down the field. Cameron Dicker is going to break the NFL record for points in the season at this rate. But I thought it was good that they made the adjustments at halftime and we turned around in the second half. I think that's a great sign of a good coaching staff. Like, Jesse Minter can't be swept under the rug, and I know you mentioned already. This dude is awesome. Like, Jesse Minter is legit defensive coordinator who we're lucky to have. I think he's the first coordinator that I can remember the Chargers having where I'm thinking, how much longer is he going to be here? Like, I don't think he's going to be here much longer if he continues to be this great. I know it's one game, and I don't want to overhype just one game. But like Dave said, next week we're playing the worst team in the NFL in the Carolina Panthers, who got shellacked by the New Orleans Saints. I would expect the defense to be very good next week. I'd expect the Chargers to be even better. And for the people that say the Chargers offense struggled, dude, none of these guys played in the preseason for the most part. You kind of expect the offense to struggle in the first half of the first game of the season because they haven't played at NFL speed in a year.
And like, to your point on the interior alignment, this was a front that's like one of the better interior D-line in the league. Like, this wasn't like you're facing the Panthers rush and you had problems like, all right, guys, we really got to go back to the drawing board. No, this is a front that a lot of people have troubles with. when they face the Chiefs are going to have trouble. The Ravens that they have next week, the Ravens are going to have some trouble facing this Raiders front. Like, it's not a walk in the park lineup to face. And I think them showing up in a later half, breaking off big runs and wearing them down is huge. Shows massive improvement. And that's a debate. One of the biggest takeaways to take away from it is that even though they kind of got shoved around in the first half, and they did, they just got, mobbed around. There were some dropbacks that Herbert had where I was like, there's someone in his face before he even, can take a look downfield. And there's one time he really just shuffled something out to Dobbins, and Dobbins had a guy in his face right away. So that rough game, but I think that's going to improve later on, and especially against the Panthers, who, boy, was I wrong on them. Like, Jesus Christ on a cross.
All of us were.
About them. Yeah.
All of us were.
I literally watched. That was a delete one sports betting app that I threw that bet on of Panthers to cover. Just I was like, that's bad juju. Let's not see that again. So that one got deleted. And hopefully all the film and the tape of me saying the Panthers also gets deleted somehow.
Well,
that'd be cool.
We all believed in Dave Canales, right? We all heard great things about Dave Canales, and as far as what the Panthers were, we'll break that game down, of course, on Thursday. But holy cow, man, where the Panthers right now struggling. So here's the deal. A couple things as we're doing this. I'm trying to see the comments as they're coming through. Appreciate everyone that's writing in. I just talked about how the Chargers had an exciting offense, and basically from 79 through 82, and those teams couldn't get to Super Bowls. Look, I understand Nate Means and Junior Seau went to a Super Bowl. They aren't on the teams I'm talking about. Those teams weren't extremely exciting. Do you understand? I didn't mention them when I mentioned those teams. Sorry. At the same time, people are writing saying, Dave, how about some love for Bosa with, laughing faces? Dude, I just talked about Bosa. I told you, Bosa had a great game. I picked him to have a great game on Thursday. So, look, I know I've been really tough on Joey Bosa for the last 3 years. He stepped up, man. He basically led our defense big time when we needed him most. And you know what you didn't see from Bosa? You didn't see him pulling himself out on third downs. That was one of my biggest criticisms, is that Joey Bosa would continue to pull himself out on third downs. This is when I need a breather. He wasn't doing that. And to the play that Mario spoke about at the beginning, if you're just joining the show now, you could make an argument. One of the biggest defensive plays in the game was when Minshew was running for that first down, and Bosa, with everything he had, dove for his back heel and tripped him up short of the first down. Bosa, I have nothing to say but great things about him, but that's what we've expected from him. That's why he gets almost $40 million a year. That's what the Chargers have been paying for. That's just not what you're getting result-wise. Hopefully this is a new Joey Bosa. Hopefully they're talking about him the same way they talk about his brother. But overall, as different units all the way around, I'm sure Jim Harbaugh was excited by what he saw. Going back to Joe Alt, because we've seen a lot of people that are very excited, and Josh, you touched on that offensive line and Joe Alt and how good the tackles were. One thing about, you figured this out with Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz, the Chargers want to be able to control what they can control. And you can control the run, and you can control blocking. You can't control turnovers. You don't know when those are going to happen. And so what do they say? You put the ball in there, 3 things are going to happen, 2 of them are bad. In today's NFL, though, you got to put the ball in there at some point. People are saying our passing game, guys, isn't good. We knew it wasn't going to be good before the season started. It just might be like this the entire year. But if you control the clock and control basically how you're going to run the ball, I'm to the point right now, I'm going to ask you guys, like, the most important guy who cannot get hurt on this team is J.K. Dobbins, just like it's no surprise. We all knew J.K. Dobbins was very good when he can stay healthy. This is the J.K. Dobbins the Ravens thought they were getting when they took him out of Ohio State. Unfortunately, he has been injured his entire career. Let's hopefully it's a different day and a different year with J.K. Dobbins with the Chargers, because this team definitely needs him.
I agree with you. I think the 2 guys, I say J.K. Dobbins for sure has to stay healthy because he's the most complete running back on the team. Vidal being an inactive today was a little bit of a head scratcher. I would like to know why he was an inactive. But J.K. Dobbins, 100%, needs to stay healthy. He's very important in this team. Lad McConkey, I think, showed very well today as a rookie in his first game. Those 2 guys kind of make this offense whole. I thought Hayden Hurst had some flashes. Will Disley was disappointed in. But J.K. Dobbins, to me, was the biggest surprise, because I just haven't seen him playing forever. It just seems like he hasn't really played much since he's come out of college. Well, he hasn't. He's hurt all the time. But he was great, and I'm really happy with the way he performed, and the tackles were great. Joe Alt, you can't expect a rookie right tackle to do that in his first game. It's unheard of stuff to go against Max Crosby, who some people were saying in the chat is overrated. I'm not one of those people. I think Max Crosby is a very good player. He looked like he wasn't very good out there today because Joe Alt was keeping him in check. I think that's a big reason why him and Christian Wilkins started acting like big babies at the end of the game because they couldn't make plays. Straight up. Joe Alt was controlling them. Rashawn Slater always controls the person he goes against. I'm happy, Mario. Like, I'm not taking away this game and saying, oh, J.K. Scott could have been better. Obviously, I know those things. But to win an NFL game by 12 points, that's a lot. I mean, 12 points in an NFL game is a lot. Every game is about 3 points, right? The spread goes one way or the other. To win by 12 against a division rival is huge.
Oh, so the key thing I think you said right there, division rival. In the NFL, it screams out anytime you play a division rival, no matter how good either organization is, 9 times out of 10, it's a close game no matter what. 9 times out of 10. How many times a week do we say, Jaguars are playing the Texans and Texans are this good, but for some reason, every time they're in Jacksonville, they lose. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those weird things that happens. And in an individual game where it's going to be tight, pulling out a 12-point win is huge, especially with the talent that's on the other side of the ball. And especially when, Crosby started off really hot in this game. Like, the way the energy he had in this game, I was like, man, we're in trouble because that guy's energy doesn't go down. It only goes up throughout the day. So the way that they're able to overcome that's huge. I think what's also good is the schedule helps where we get kind of a break, if you will, and a drop-off in talent with facing the Panthers next week. Because I think if we had to go straight into the Steelers, that would be a very, very tough matchup because I don't know if you guys saw T.J. Watt. Looks like he's just as great as ever, and he's a nightmare, and I think he's going to be a struggle for us to go up against. But, we'll see. I want to point out something that you said as well, or something that worried me about this game. We left a lot of points on the board, a lot of points. I mean, the red zone attempts that we didn't turn into touchdowns, that scares me, Dave. And the Joshua Palmer, I mean, Romo said it. Herbert threw the ball where it could only go. And the fact that Palmer couldn't bring it down, that's a receiver one pulls down that throw. That worries me a little bit when we face the better teams in the NFL. I don't like that at all. But on the flip side, Jesse Minter, Raiders had 0 red zone plays until the fourth quarter.
Wow.
Eat a load of crap, Las Vegas, and wherever the hell you smuck Raider fans live.
So, here's the deal with the Josh Palmer situation. I mean, with a normal team, Josh Palmer's a 3. He comes into the season as the team's number 1. Definitely a pass that you expect to catch. I could turn it the other way, though. In the NFL, this is really a 3-point league, right? You look at the point spreads all the time. It's always about 3. To win a game by 10 in the NFL is impressive. I understand there's some lopsided scores in week 1, but you won a game by 10 against or 12 against a team that is inside your division. That's big. The division games to me always feel like a win and a half. Whenever you can pull one of those down. Last thing I want to say about Max Crosby for people who say, oh, he wasn't any good. Look, in the first half, Max Crosby had a sack, 2 quarterback hits, and a tackle for a loss. Played pretty well. In the second half, all he had to add to those numbers was 1 quarterback hit. That was it. So no sacks, 1 more quarterback hit, no more passes deflected. Chargers really did a fantastic job. I'm always curious to know what teams do at halftime. I mean, you hear so many stories of teams that aren't very good where we don't do anything. Basically we go and we talk to our position coaches. Nothing's ever really said. Use the restroom and get some water. You're back on the field. It looked like Jesse Minter sit there and cleaned everything up that he wanted to clean up. And it looked like at the same time on the offensive side, Jim Harbaugh or Greg Roman, they cleaned up everything they wanted to clean up. It was a better team. I mean, they made adjustments. That's what it's for. That's what halftime's for, is to make adjustments, and they were able to do it. The good teams do it. The Patriots have done it for years. When Bill Belichick was there, this is what you saw all the time. It was going to be either cleaned up or a better team. Red zone stuff, I think, will come along. They got to figure out a little bit better in the red zone offense. Remember, not a lot of time put in my opinion, with the 3 preseason games when you have a new front office and a new basically roster outside of your quarterback. I think this team gets better. And I think at the same time with the Panthers next week, and knock on wood, it should be a cakewalk game. It should be.
It should be. You never know. With this Chargers team, I feel more confident in them handling business than normal, right? You watch the Raiders. I believe the Raiders had 3 turnovers and a missed field goal, and it felt like you're looking in the mirror from last season. Like, this is we're watching Chargers football, but for the Raiders. Like, they're killing themselves. I'm just happy we're on the other side of that finally. Mark, can we get some of the star chats, if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course.
You'll go to Young West. It says horrendous first half by the offense, but holy hell, that defense looks ridiculously good tonight. Bolt up, Mack and Bosa equals shake and bake. I think Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack don't get enough credit for how good they can be for this team. Like everybody talks about Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins and some other duos throughout the league. Like I honestly believe, Mario, that Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa could be the best tandem in the NFL. Like without a doubt, both guys could have 12 plus sacks, completely turn a game on its head. And I thought you saw that today. They totally took control of the Raiders offensive line and the game.
They were huge in it, and they're a big part of what's this next era for the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think we saw the full potential of them today. Like that's what we saw. If this game was Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, you name it, primetime game, social media would be slammed with, is this the best edge duo in the league, Dave? That's what it would be across the board. And we see what they can do at their best, and we just got to make sure and hope that happens every single week this year, because if they do, we're making the playoffs. Where our defense is really going to live and die by how those guys look.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, again, if Mack and Bosa were on a team, let's say like the Dallas Cowboys or even the Jets, a team right now that's getting a lot of hype, they'd get a lot more attention. All that stuff happens when you start winning. And when you start winning, you're going to get recognized.
It's true.
Mack's one of those guys that I think everyone in the NFL respects. Joey Bosa has all the intangibles, but hasn't played up to his capabilities. And so if he can pull it together, those guys are going to get it. Those guys will be absolutely fine. I love the fact Khalil Mack still plays. I love the fact he's wearing a Charger uniform. How many Raider fans are watching that game today or even last year going, how in the hell did we ever get rid of Mack? I mean, the guy's on his way to Canton, Ohio, and we let this guy go. Remember, he made All-Pro at 2 positions in the same year. That was insane. And yet the Raiders, let him go. John Gruden completely screwed the whole thing up, but that's what the Raiders do. So overall, they're going to get the accolades, and I say this all the time in baseball when people always say, man, I hope this guy wins MVP or Rookie of the Year. And they talk about that more than their team winning the World Series. It's like, dude, you aren't getting to keep the trophy at your house. Like, I don't give a rat's ass. Like, I'm a fan. I just want the team to win. That's where I'm at. Maybe just because I'm getting old, but people always make it sound like, man, he gets a bonus if he gets Rookie of the Year. Well, he's not sharing it with me, so I don't care. It's always about the team. I mean, that's why we watch the games, right? So that's where I'm at with those two guys. Khalil Mack, I bet if you asked him, he doesn't care about any of that stuff anymore. He's already won every award he could possibly win. He's already been named Defensive Player of the Year. He's won everything. The only thing he doesn't have a Super Bowl, and he doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. And that's what he needs, and that's what he wants. That's why he's back still playing, because money's not a factor either.
Yeah, he restructured his contract because he believes in Jim Harbaugh on this team 100%. Next comment, I'd like to go to Elliot Felix. It says, holding Devontae Adams under 100 yards is always a win. I can't give enough credit to Asante Samuel Jr. and Christian Fulton. I thought they were great. One thing that stood out to me, Mario, watching Chargers last year, were how many games we had where the receiver on the other team was open by 20 yards. The whole circle around him, no Charger within 20 yards of the receiver. You barely saw that today. I thought Asante Samuel Jr. was fantastic.
This is something that if I was a Raiders fan, I would be really, really cautious and nervous about, because him having, I think, what do you end with? 5 receptions, I believe, at the end of this whole ordeal. That's pretty worrisome for a guy. 5 receptions for 59 yards. That's pretty worrisome for a guy, Dave, that isn't patient anymore and is going to get pretty vocal to go to New York if things don't start going his way. So that, if I'm a Raider fan, that would be really making me shaking my boots right now. And again, it just goes to, this game showed the one hole on that team is the quarterback. And that's what screwed him in the end. Gardner Minshew doesn't fumble that, the Chargers win. How's the momentum shifter?
It was huge.
In years past, man, I would say yes. I don't know. I have different faith in Harbaugh. I feel like Harbaugh teams find a way to win. I mean, they're going to play 60 minutes, and everyone could say they claim to do that. It's not the case. We've seen Charger teams for years who didn't seem like they played the entire game. Going back to the very first thing you guys said, man, I just feel like we have the security blanket in Jim Harbaugh. It's different. It's not like having a 12th man on the field. It's better. It's just better. He affects every aspect of the team.
I feel I'll go one step further. I think having Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter are like having extra players on the team. Like it's just a total different vibe. Eddie Ramirez says Crosby couldn't get a pressure without a stunt. Dude, he might as well call Joe Alt daddy after the second half. Like, I mean, Joe Alt just completely owned him. We'll go over to Alan Silva.
Real quick. I want to add to that real quick. The last time I've seen a rookie play that well in his first game and just, I think, take off for the rest of his career is Joe Thomas, who's a Hall of Famer. I mean, I don't want to put that kind of pressure in saying that, but that's amazing to sit there and go from college ball to going against one of the best in all of football. That's absolutely incredible. We're going to see it again in 2 weeks when he has to go against TJ Watt. Let's see what he is.
Wow.
Let's see what he is. But, man, it is a welcome to the NFL. It'll be a little bit bigger of a test. I really don't think the separation's as big as that, but I think those are two of the best. I'd give the nod to TJ Watt, but, man, Max Crosby never gets tired. That's the one thing about him that's incredible. He just has that motor. TJ Watt's the same thing.
You could argue the Chargers go against the 3 best edge rushers of the NFL this year, right? TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Max Crosby. Alan Silva says, it is beautiful to finally have a great coach. Good times are here and now. I think we've said that all show. We're just so happy we finally have a competent head coach. It makes the biggest difference in the world. Eddie Ramirez says, let's celebrate the W with some Taco Bell. I will. Don't tell me it was a good time. I 100% will do that. And then, Mario, is there any of these you want to get to?
Chung West, one more shout. Reddit fans celebrating Halloween early. They went ghost. So shout out to those guys. Very, very funny. There's another one that I will put, and it's going to get into my Quentin Johnston take. Orlando Moore, our defense can't win our games for the rest of the season. I'm worried about the offense this year, I'll be honest. I am officially, and I'm not going to come back in on it, I am officially all out on Quentin Johnston. I have seen enough. I am all out. I'm okay. I'm all set. I will not believe him anymore. I will not have any more faith in him. There's a moment earlier in the game. He was one-on-one in coverage. The ball was put in the most perfect spot. Nance recognized it. Romo recognized it. America recognized it. India recognized it. China recognized it. Russia, you name it. Jesus Christ himself came down in the Catholic Church and goes, he put the ball where he could only catch it, and I helped it put it there, and you still didn't catch the damn ball. Later in the game, he goes one-on-one. It's a out route. He doesn't do a great job of winning it on the route. The corner underbites it or undercuts it. Herbert, again, puts the ball exactly where it needs to be so it doesn't get picked, and then he can catch it. Is that a hard catch? Absolutely. Very hard catch. But you're in the NFL. You're supposed to be a number one receiver. And guess what you don't do? You don't catch it. Once again, everyone in the world saw it. My mom saw it. She texted me, I don't think this guy's very good. I texted her back, Mom, he sucks. That's literally what I said back. He's not a good player. We cannot rely on him in big down situations to make a play. Let's stop doing that. On a crossing route, if he's open and maybe get some yak, I'm fine with it. Screen pass, I'm fine with it. Let's not act like he's our third down guy. McConkey's our third down guy. We know that now. Palmer can be it in some games. Didn't show it today. Quentin Johnston's not it. He's our screen guy, open space guy. One-on-one, I don't want to see him take advantage of anyone anymore. He can't do it. He can't win it. I'm out. He can't win one-on-one. He can't. End of story.
Look, I didn't play quarterback in the NFL. All right. But Tony Romo sure did. Okay. And if you can goof on Tony Romo all you want for not making it to a Super Bowl, look at his numbers. I mean, they destroy every Cowboy quarterback. I mean, even Troy Aikman is in the Hall of Fame, and Roger Staubach is in the Hall of Fame. Tony Romo's numbers are insane. When he used the expression, I can't trust him, that's not good. That's very concerning. And
you try to retract it too.
Yeah, we were talking in a group text. Tony Romo was trying not to rip him this year, but he basically said, I can't trust him. And that is tough. If you don't trust him, Justin Herbert's not going to trust him. And it is everything. And I'll let Josh get into that about if you're supposed to run 5 yards and you run 7, it throws off the route. I mean, if you watch Davante Adams found the space of where to go, where to sit, right? And you sit there and go, that's what good receivers do. They can read the defense the way a quarterback can read the defense. We were talking about Quentin Johnston about just the way he used to catch the ball, about catching it with his body and not catching it. There are other things that go into it that are more important. When you think about quarterbacks and say, I can't trust him, the first guy that comes to everybody's mind is Aaron Rodgers. a few years ago, his last year with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers was lost without Devontae Adams because he said none of these guys were smart enough. He didn't trust anybody to get the ball to. And so what do you do in that situation? I mean, we need this. It's third down. Well, I don't know if this guy's going to run the right route. Can I trust this guy? That it was very concerning. I'm sorry, but it is concerning. And I know a lot of people here are fans with him of his. So are we if he plays up to his contract, just like everybody else. Last time I said about the Chargers receivers, I'll give the rest to Josh. People who want to say Josh Palmer's a good receiver, dude, he's a number 3. He's not a 1. Josh Palmer's not new to me, okay? I've watched Josh Palmer since he was at Tennessee. I watched SEC football like you wouldn't believe. Okay, and I pay attention to Alabama, and I lived in Tennessee for 9 years. I pay attention to the Volunteers because so many of my friends are Volunteer fans, and I hate the Volunteers. But here's the deal. Josh Palmer's never been that guy. He's just not that guy. He's an NFL receiver, but he's not an elite NFL receiver. So make all the excuses you want. Josh Palmer's had one exceptional game in his whole NFL career, and it was against the Atlanta Falcons 2 years ago. That's it.
Yeah, people on the side here are saying we're too harsh on Quentin Johnston. This is what I'll say about Quentin Johnston. I thought he was fine. I thought he was fine in the first half. The second half, he looked like he didn't know what to do on that pass. That people are saying Justin Herbert threw out of bounds. He threw it where he was supposed to be. He's supposed to cut it off before the safety and catch it. Justin Herbert placed it perfectly. I mean, go watch the play again. Quentin Johnston needs to be good throughout the game. I mean, we watched the Green Bay Packers game last year. He drops that pass. Today, he doesn't know how to break off the route in a very crucial situation. I'm not completely out on Quentin Johnston as Mario is, but you need him or Josh Palmer to step up to be a good team, period. You can't rely on Lad McConkey to take over a game because he's not that type of guy. Hayden Hurst is not going to take over a game like Antonio Gates. He's not that type of guy. We need to have consistent production from all the receivers. I don't think Justin Herbert was great today, but he also wasn't bad. He was good enough to win the game. You got to help him out. You got to know when to break off your route. You got to know when to cut in, cut out, all those little things that receivers have to know what to do at the NFL level because it's so split decision on what to do. It's so fast in the NFL. You can't think in your head, do I go here? Do I go there? You just got to do it. And Quentin Johnston, I think, can get there, but right now he looks like he second guesses himself. Is there anything else you guys would like to add?
I just want to add more to that, like to your point, and like I just want to be more clear on it. I'm out on him playing on the outside and him being like this deep threat and being like this guy. There's no safety over top. You got to take advantage of it. I'm out on that. Screen pass guy, absolutely. Crossing route, absolutely. That's where he thrives in. I think that's like this perfect role. But that's a spot for a 2 or 3 on a team, not a 1. And I think in the situations where we were going to him today, in the 2 routes that I mentioned, that's a spot you throw to him when he's your go-to guy, and that's just simply not it. That's it.
Okay, for the people that keep saying Quentin Johnston's a slot receiver, hey, buddy, you can't just catch the ball in the middle of the field every time. You have to be able to catch the ball on the sideline. Do you not know football? Like, you're driving me nuts in these comments. He's 6'3". You want him just to run over the middle all the time? He needs to be able to catch the ball on the sideline, like Mike Williams did.
Exactly.
Like, what do you think everybody's going to catch the ball in the middle of the field? What do you think Lad McConkey's going to do? Think he's going to moss somebody? He's not. Like, you don't know football. Like, you drive me nuts.
Dude, Josh is 100% right. I mean, again, I always go back to the Patriots because they won a lot. Dude, even the Patriots, some of the biggest plays they had were their slot receivers, so-called slot receivers, catching the ball in the end zone, going to the right or going to the left. I mean, we saw it for years. You know, in Super Bowls, we saw it. Everybody, you just aren't sitting in the middle of the field. How easy is it to play defense if the same guy is sitting in the middle of the field every single time? You got to have the chance of going different directions. I don't even know why we were talking about this. What am I?
I don't even know why I'm talking this. This guy doesn't know what I'm talking about. I don't even know why I'm giving this guy.
And anybody on the side, look, man, 2 things we don't talk about on the show, which is crazy to me that I would have to play the rules here. 1, we don't talk politics. You guys have done a pretty good job the last 2 days. Got crazy about a week ago.
That
2,
was, yeah.
What's the deal with the race stuff? What? Hey, white boy doesn't know what he's talking about. All 3 of us. What? I don't even know which one you're talking to, but we don't go that route. We never talk race. We're talking, all we care about is the damn team uniforms. We're going powder blue, white, or navy blue. That's the only colors we care about. I don't know how you guys jumping in a race. Let's keep race out of this. We got enough problems as it is, as to quote Bad News Bears.
The one thing that made today even better was that the Broncos lost as well. So the Chargers are tied for first with the Chiefs after week 1. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, we're in first place. Come on.
Bo Nix did not look good. I mean, we saw that coming though.
Dude, a lot of quarterbacks look bad.
Yeah.
A lot of quarterbacks. We're going to get into this on Tuesday. A lot of quarterbacks looked bad.
I'm ready to. I'll get into it now. I got a lot to say.
I know. You hold on because I'll tell you
right.
what. I'll give you mine that I love seeing when he fails. It's Deshaun Watson. Is yours Bo Nix?
Oh my God. Well, Watson. I bet I had money on the Browns today, which really hurt. That really hurt.
Yeah.
My favorite guy to see today that I was really surprised in how well he played, Baker Mayfield. Every time I clicked over to that game, he threw another touchdown or threw another big play. And I was like, Jesus Christ. That guy had a hell of a game today.
Dude,
Hell of a game.
Tom over here with the Bo picks. That's a good one.
That is a good one. Do you guys want to talk?
Hey, real quick. They're in a uniform argument here on the right side.
Okay.
I do the uniform thing too. Yellow pants got to go. Someone said the uniforms are fire. I'm on the stance. I don't like the yellow pants.
Dude, I hate yellow pants.
Yeah,
Hate yellow pants.
Look, this might hurt to say from Charger fans. The Raiders have pretty cool uniforms. Everyone knows the Raiders got great uniforms. But when the Raiders come out with their traditional Raider uniform and wearing yellow pants, it just looks like we're about to get our ass kicked. I don't know. I don't like the yellow pants. You know, when I see a guy wearing yellow pants, first thing on my mind is I can take that guy. That's the first thing that goes through my head.
You can't be. It's like it's the equivalent to wearing the baby blue pants on like at a wedding. It's like I just want to hit you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're wearing yellow pants. You're in the corner drinking Arnold Palmer's. I kick your ass any second I want to. Yeah.
A hell of a drink. Can we talk about God, there was another thing I had from this game. I'm trying to see if I can find it in my notes.
I do have another. While you're looking for your notes, Mario, I have a question for you. Okay, and this is gonna be football, but this is gonna be off Charger football for a second.
Okay.
Because Mario, if people aren't aware, Mario raised in Indiana, lived in Chicago, now lives in DC. Dude, how big was that win yesterday for Northern Illinois to knock off Notre Dame? Because it's really connected. You know that area better than anybody on the show. And I thought it was.
Gentlemen.
Look, I'm not a fan of either team. I'll tell you right now, I hate Notre Dame. But I was sitting there going, this was the ultimate David versus Goliath of going, here's a team that's never been on national TV against a team that has a national TV every week and doesn't even have to join a conference because they make their own rules. And they had to pay them millions of dollars to play the game. It was awesome. So I'm just curious, because of where your family is and your friends are, was it just the talk of everything the last 24 hours?
So as you guys may know, I am the king of playing the devil's advocate. If I'm in a room and I have no blood in a game and everyone's cheering for one team, I don't know why. I don't know what's in me, but the last thing I want to do is cheer for that team. I want to bet against them. I was surrounded by Notre Dame fans. I put a lot of money on NIU and I kept doubling down throughout. It was the most fun I have had cheering against Notre Dame. I left a lot of voicemails to a lot of people that were probably a little over the top. That I got a couple texts going, the last line was a little too much. I go, that's my bad. I overstepped. But that made me so happy. It's the most Notre Dame game of all time. And Riley Leonard's not a good quarterback. He's not good. That team's a 0, by the way. He's not good. That team ain't going anywhere. They're not going to fire Marcus Freeman because they think he's it there, and they're just going to do the same cycle. But that made my Saturday watching that team fall freaking apart. I love that. Shout out to the Irish, baby. Way to suck. Way to be not good. I love them. I really do. Praise be, you Catholic pricks.
Jesus. What the hell?
I can say that. I'm Christian.
Oh, you were raised Catholic? God dang. That's going to be rule 3 in a second. Damn.
Yeah. That was great, though. Was there anything else from this Sunday that you guys loved that just kind of really made your day?
Yeah, Bengals losing to the Patriots made my day.
Oh,
horrible. Is Joe Burrow not great if he doesn't have all these number 1 receivers on his team? I mean, terrible.
Oh my gosh. A buddy of mine's a huge Patriots fan. And he writes me, goes, how about those Patriots? I told him, good job. You just cost yourself the number 1 pick in the 2025 draft. You guys aren't doing anything. You got Jacoby Brissett and a bunch of scrubs. That's the way it goes. Anyway, is there anyone on the side you want to grab real quick?
Yeah, from Ricardo. It's we'll end on this. It says, what do you guys think of Derwin James and Alohi Gilman? I think Derwin James and Gilman are the most underrated safety combo in the NFL. And Tony Romo said that on the broadcast. He said, these two guys don't get the credit that they deserve. And I couldn't agree more. We all know Derwin James. Everybody in the country knows Derwin James. People do not know Gilman. And I think they're going to make a lot of noise this season. Both guys will knock your head off. And that's my favorite thing about them. This Chargers team isn't going to be pushed over. You saw the fight at the end, even though I'm not a fan of people fighting and getting hurt. But if you're going to stand up for your teammates, I like it. I think Derwin James and Gilman set the tone for the defense in the back end. You have Mack and Bosa up front. You got them in the back just cleaning people's heads off. I love it, man.
Got another super chat here too. Sorry.
6 tackles for Derwin James. I thought he played fantastic. I thought Gilman played great too. Derwin, I thought was all over the tight end. I think he was. No, maybe it was Bowers. Bowers made a really good catch on James. But I thought that he for sure dropped it, but I thought James played it great and, like you said, very underrated. Here's our next one. How nice was it when Dicker came out for the 53-yarder and actually expected him to make it bolt up?
I think he's the best kicker in the NFL. Honestly, I'm so confident in him. I love it. I 100% agree with you. There's not for a second I thought, he's going to miss a 53-yard kick, which is so difficult to do. He's great. Love him.
Dude, we've had years we haven't had those guys, right? And then you got a guy that's just automatic. It's fantastic. And there's so many good kickers in the NFL. He's one of those guys, as we mentioned, the red zone problems. He's probably going to be a guy that gets a lot of field goals this year. Dude, it's money. 53 a week, man, that's a long way. But with him, you have faith in him. Let's keep it up. And, the Raiders thought they had a guy, too, they had faith in that missed what should be a chip shot field goal for an NFL kicker, and he goes wide. His brother lost his job with Green Bay for the same thing. The fact we have Cameron Dicker, man, it's one of those you don't even worry about when it's time to kick off the game and start things going. What about our kicker? Nate Kading, we still hate you. We will never forgive you about the Jets, but we have Cameron Dicker now.
Yeah, people don't forget.
Yep, don't forget. There you go.
You're kicker. You're either a legend or you're a villain.
Always.
There's no in between. You're the Joker or you're Batman.
That's
that's literally the only two ways you can go.
That's exactly the way it goes. All right, we're going to be back on Tuesday, 1:00. We're going to go over not only how we pick the games. All right, I have a feeling right now I'm the leader on eating all those foods for the punishment. It was not a good week for me. We'll go through all that stuff. We'll talk about the fantasy football with everyone that's in there. We'll keep that short because not everybody's in the league, but we'll let you know how things stand. A lot of you guys talking a lot of trash. That's fine too. But most importantly, the Chargers win today. And the Chargers win, and they're 1-0. Nice to have a winning record. Next week, it's the Panthers. So we'll discuss everything. We'll wrap up week 1 as the Lions-Rams are just about to kick off here. Then Monday night, you have the Jets. You have the 49ers. We'll wrap up week 1, head into week 2, and be very excited and break down what's going on in Carolina, what's going on with Bryce Young. Is it only his fault, or is the whole Panther organization a disaster? Either way, that's next up on the schedule for the Chargers. It doesn't matter how you win. It doesn't matter who's on your schedule. You've got to beat the teams on your schedule, and the Chargers did it today by beating the hated Raiders. Again, final score 22-10. Chargers now 1-0 on the season, in first place in the AFC West. Let's keep it going. Appreciate everyone, again, that has added on during the show. That's why we want to do these post-game shows live. If you're following the show on YouTube, you didn't catch it live, please leave comments. We'll guarantee to answer those as well. But thank you, and great Sunday. Great Sunday as well. For Mario Heron, Josh Palais, I'm Dave Palais. We'll see you on Tuesday at 1:00 Pacific time.
Bolt